Welcome to the Manic Pixie Dream Vlog. I'm your host, Caroline Georges, and welcome. Okay, so look, I'm just going to talk one more time about the Delia situation. I'm experiencing PTSD. I haven't eaten, today I ate some curry, threw that up. Yesterday, ate a burrito, got really bad indigestion, threw up. Last night I just had trouble sleeping. I slept for 4 hours during the day. I didn't sleep all night the night before. And this morning I just woke up and I feel sick. I feel sick. I feel like I'm getting the flu. I feel like I don't know. I feel like I just feel sick. I feel like I'm sick and I'm not sick. I'm fine, but I just feel like I'm sick. And I'm scared, y'all. I'm scared. I'm a comedian. That's who I am. And I have to be in comedy in Los Angeles. I have to be in comedy. I have to. I can't leave. I can't. I love it. And, but I'm in danger. I'm in fucking danger. And I'm scared. And I'm terrified. And I don't know what to do. Delia's opener sexually assaulted me, and I don't know if he's gonna go away. I don't know if they're gonna cut him out. I don't know if they're gonna blackball him. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen to those guys that I know are doing fucked up shit too. I've heard on the She Rates Dogs by multiple accounts, multiple women have come forward and say they've heard comics talking about Delia's group chat. Delia has a group chat where he's sending photos and nudes of girls that send him nudes. He's sending those nudes to his friends. And some of those nudes are allegedly of girls that are underage. So there are all of these comics that were in that group chat where we're looking at child pornography with no issue, with no problem. I'm scared. Okay? I'm fucking scared. I'm scared of these people that may or may not be evil. Who are these men that were in the group chat? Who are they? Do they know who I am? What are they going to do? Do they know I've been raped? Do they know I've been sexually assaulted? Do they know that they can do that to me again very easily and get away with it? Do they know? I'm scared. Okay? I'm genuinely really scared. I'm genuinely really upset about this situation. Delia knew I was sexually assaulted by his opener, and he still gave him work, and he still promoted his career. He still did. I knew for a long time Delia was a shady motherfucker. I knew for a long time Delia was a dark motherfucker. And people are defending him now. People are defending him. They are saying the allegations with him don't make sense. They don't hold up in court. And you know what? Maybe they don't, but they never do they? 2 out of 100 rapists will go to prison. Only 2 will serve time in prison. And of 100 rapists, only 5 will have a day in court. Only 5. It's murky territory. So you know what women did? Women shot Delia in the back. They shot him in the back. Like cowards, but you know what? How else were they going to do it? How else? How else were we going to? What were our choices? What were our options but to shoot him in the back like cowards? These women are not coming forward. The 5 who have come forward with their names and identities, their whole Delia came forward to paint the full picture, which only confirmed he was DMing underage girls. It confirmed it. And he knew they were underage. He knew. He's not an idiot. He's not an idiot. Delia is a smart guy. And he knew the girls' DMs that he was sliding into were underage. He knew. It was obvious. He commented on a photo of 2 very young-looking high school boys sleeping on a school bus taken by a photo of a girl he was sexting with. He knew these girls were underage. So look, here's what it is. I could have easily have been one of those 16-year-old girls Delia could have preyed on. I know it. Me at 16, me at 17, me at 15, me at 14, y'all. Me at 14. If Chris D'Elia, a famous, a successful, wealthy, good-looking comedian, slid into the DMs of little Caroline, little 15, 16-year-old Caroline, and shined a light on her, Caroline wouldn't have said her age. Caroline would have been careful. Caroline would have tiptoed around things, just like Chris D'Elia was tiptoeing around things. And maybe 16-year-old Caroline would have had the time of her life with Chris D'Elia. And maybe there were 16-year-old girls who did have the time of their life with Chris D'Elia. And you know what? If that's what happened, if a 16-year-old girl fucked Chris D'Elia when Chris D'Elia was in his 30s and she had a great time and she loved it and she, is fine with that situation, fine with that circumstance, then no harm, no foul, fine. But that's not the situation with these girls. There are just too many accounts. There's too many. Too many bullets in Chris D'Elia's back for him to live. And I'm sorry that he was shot in the back. That's not fair. But what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to do this? Chris D'Elia has been accused of rape. He has been accused of rape. And that is a big bullet in his back that he's not going to survive. I read this accusation of rape. And it is on an Instagram page where thousands of people are following it, and thousands of people read this account of rape and believe it. Because you know what? It's a believable story. I found, look, on the She Rates Dogs, or on the Chris D'Elia Me Too Instagram page, where all of the accusations are posted. And I recommend you going and looking at these accusations, each and every one. And know that even if one of these is true, then Chris D'Elia got what was coming to him. He got what was coming, and he got it, and he got what he fucking wanted. What did he think was gonna happen? Do you pieces of shit think bitches don't fucking talk to each other? You don't think we don't fucking talk? Well, guess what? We do. We talk about y'all. We do. We're talking about you. So you know what? If you're going to rape a girl, if you're going to slide into the DMs of an underage girl, do it once. Only do it once. So that girl could be alone in her life forever. Watching from the sidelines as her rapist, the man that destroyed her, gets on stage at the Comedy Store and is the big man on campus, and everyone loves him. That was the fate of a girl if Chris D'Elia did this once. But guess what? He didn't. He did this 75 times. 75 posts. Some of these DMs, some of these emails, some of these accusations, 2 of the accounts were girls claiming to have been 13 years old. 13. Rumors were swirling around Chris D'Elia for years into a tornado that came out last Tuesday. Allegations have come out against another comic. I'm not going to say his name because we want due process. I want due process. So basically, there's this comic who, I'll admit, you know what? I heard something really shady about him from Joe Rogan. I heard something really shady about this male comic from Joe Rogan, who's friends with this male comic. I heard something very alarming and shady about this male comic. So now there's this female comedian saying this guy tried to ask me to give him a blowjob for money and stage time. And now I'm hearing that he's raped multiple women with the help of other comedians. Fuck you, bitch. Go to the cops. I don't believe you. Despite what I've heard about this guy, I don't fucking believe you. If it's rape, don't shoot him in the back. Go to the cops and shoot him in the fucking face, because that's what he deserves. That's what everyone deserves, and that's what Chris D'Elia deserved, but that's not what he got, because that's not how we could do it. We had to shoot him in the back. Like cowards, and we're sorry, but what are we supposed to do? I'm going to read this accusation, break it down, explain why I believe it, and know that this accusation is out there, it is on the internet, and you can't get rid of it, and you can't pull the bullet from a dead man and expect him to come back to life. You can't pull this bullet out of Chris D'Elia's back and bring him back to life. You can't. He was sliding into the DMs of girls that he knew were underage, and nobody here is stupid enough to believe he didn't know. He knew. Those girls looked young. Those girls looked like they were in high school. Those girls were posting photos of themselves on their Instagram of them in high schools. Chris D'Elia knew. He knew. And you know he knew. And he knew he knows. And I'm just going to read this account and let's move forward. Okay. Hi, thank you for making this page, and please keep me anonymous. This is a long one. I decided to share my story because some defending Chris seem to believe nothing technically illegal has occurred. Well, he date raped me. He drugs lots of women. The stuff about Chris is kind of an open secret. This is why the majority of Hollywood is silent. Years later, I found out even a close friend had an experience with Chris. He's done far worse than what's being reported. And now vetted by the LA Times, which confirmed he was talking to underage girls, and there was one underage girl, the girl who was 16, who said that Chris D'Elia was sexting her and asking for nudes. She can confirm that to her mother. Her mother confirmed it, and her brother confirmed it, that they were there and they witnessed it happen. That she went down to them and said, Chris D'Elia, the comedian, just asked me for nudes. A girl's mother and brother confirmed it, and confirmed her story, and said it's true, and said she told them. Corroborating witnesses. Corroborating witnesses. And in this account, there is a corroborating witness. There are two women who don't want to be identified. And you know why? I'll tell you why. Also, anyone asks why I didn't come forward, I'm in the industry. Y'all know who Chris D'Elia's father is? And I didn't want to ruin my career or have this define me. Fair enough. Okay. See why she shot him in the back? She works in the industry. You know who Chris D'Elia's father is? That's why she shot him in the back. And I wish she would come forward. I wish she would press charges. I wish she would file that police report, because that is important. That is so important. That makes it real. That sends the message everyone needs right now. That sends the message. And I hope this girl does press charges, but you know what? She's probably not going to, because it will define her. It will define her. And Chris D'Elia's father and all of Chris D'Elia's father's friends will know who this girl is and what would happen to her. I'm sorry that this girl isn't brave enough to risk what would happen to her if she filed a police report. But it makes perfect sense why she wouldn't. I think it was, watching him drug a young girl on You was beyond triggering. I think it was a nod to how open the secret was. You know what? That's the kind of, I know she's adding conjecture. I know that's conjecture, but you know what? She works in the industry, and she's had time to process this. I believe the situation happened. She's claiming it happened in 2015, so it's 5 years ago that this happened. She's had 5 years to process this situation, and she probably has a lot to say about it, and I would love to talk to her about it. I would love to ask her everything, but I can't because I don't know who she is. And nobody probably should know who she is. But please, I'm asking you to believe this woman whose face and name we don't know or see. I get why the media is focusing more on the relationships with minors. That's horrific. But please also know that Chris habitually date rapes young women of all ages. He does this to women he knows will come to a show but not sleep with him. Here's my story. Okay. If this account didn't have a corroborating witness mentioned in the story, I would question it because of her conjecture and because of her opinions. And it's like, maybe she's heard rumors and stuff like that, and she's like, oh, well, I've heard all these rumors about Chris Delia, so maybe if I just say it happened to me, that I'm representing the stories of other women and I'm helping other women. Maybe that was her thinking in writing this story, and maybe it's made up. And you know what? Let's consider that a possibility for a moment. What do you think? Is that something a woman would do? To be heard? Is that something a woman would do to make sure women are heard? Because, you know, when I started out my podcast, I was gonna do it with a girl I stripped with at work. And she wanted, and I wanted to start it together, but then she and I kind of couldn't agree on everything and stuff, and so she and I was planning on paying for everything and stuff, and so it was just like, I just said, you know, I'm gonna do it on my own, sorry, and you know, and that was that. But anyways, she was like, she had a story with the director of being Me Too'd by a director. And so I was like, okay, well, I know you don't want to share the story, but what if I said it happened to me, and with you there and with your consent, I can say your account happened to me, and I'll represent you and say the account happened to me and tell your story through me and me having experienced it. We both decided that was a bad idea. We both decided that wasn't right. And but at the same time, if this is made up, if this isn't true, and this girl is just trying to tell the stories of other women by claiming it was hers, I don't think there would be a corroborating witness mentioned. I don't think there would be. There's too many details in this story that sound a lot like Chris Delia, that sound a lot like something he would say and do. And also, it mentions Michael Lenoshi, Chris Delia's notorious opener, who is connected to a lot of bullshit too. Is he going to go away? Is he going to be blackballed? Is he going to be gone too? Because that guy stares daggers at me and looks at me like he wants to hurt me. Like, looks at me like he physically wants to hurt me. Because I called out his friend. Because I accused his friend publicly, and I warned girls. And I told girls, and I... and I did the right thing. That was the right thing to do. And I questioned myself, and I thought maybe it was wrong, maybe I was being bitter, maybe I was trying to ruin somebody's life, but I wasn't. I was trying to protect women. And Michael Lenoshi would stare daggers at me for doing that. Because he hates women. And he drugs women. He's been accused of drugging women in this account, and it's out there, and that bullet is in his back too, and what's going to happen to him? Will he survive that bullet? And I hope he doesn't. In 2015, Chris messages me, I see that we have mutual friends, and I don't think it was that weird. Most of his messages mirror others who have come forward. Maybe a bit more cute, nothing lewd at first, but he was persistent on wanting to hang out. Again, she doesn't have screenshots saved of their conversations, of their messages. She doesn't have evidence of their messages. But Chris Delia, was this on Snapchat? Was he contacting her on Snapchat, where messages do disappear? And for a very long time, he didn't think messages on Snapchat could be saved. And we all saw that look on his face. As hilarious as it was when he was on that podcast and he was told that you can save Snapchats, we saw together as a nation Chris Delia shitting his pants. Why was he shitting his pants when he learned you can save messages on Snapchat? Why was he shitting his pants? He was scared. That was a man who was scared of something happening. he was scared. And he was scared of this tornado that hit him. He was scared of She Writes Dogs. He was scared of Twitter. He was scared of being shot in the back. He knew it was coming. He knew. All right. He sent me a list of dates to choose from. He texted daily. When can we hang? Pick a date. You're so pretty. Come to the Comedy Store. Okay, so it looks like they were texting. She had a contact number, but she doesn't detail how she got the number. She says that he contacted her, I believe. She doesn't say message. Okay, he says messages me, mutual friends. Okay, so that's either they have mutual friends like that. So that's either, that narrows it down to Facebook or Instagram. So it was either on Facebook or Instagram that he was messaging her. And she doesn't have receipts. So let's keep that in mind. She doesn't have receipts, but she has a corroborating witness of a woman who she said she was with when this happened, who she told at the time, during the time that it happened. So, you know what? I'm putting out there, reasons to doubt, but I believe this story with all my heart. I believe it. After the show, we went backstage. He was awkward and quiet, a contrast from his public persona and what we had seen on stage. The only thing he wanted to discuss was my appearance. Yeah, these Hollywood elite dudes, they don't know shit about you. They don't want to know shit about you. They want to talk about how you look. They want to talk about your hair. They want to talk about your dress. They want to talk about your lips. They want to talk about... They don't give a fuck about you. They really don't give a fuck about you. And that's really, I'm experiencing that dating in Hollywood, where you just go on dates with these guys that do not give a shit about you. They just like you because you're pretty and because you make them look good. Not fun. Not good. I don't like it. It's not good. Wow, you're too cute. You look so young. There was another guy with us backstage, Michael, his opener. He suggested the four of us go back to hotel for a hotel party, which, again, corroborating stories. Chris Delia would basically say, let's go to my hotel for a party. And it turns out the party is just Chris and his hotel bed and his dick. That's what the party is. That's what he's talking about. In the Uber, I attempted to make normal conversation. He appeared to be only interested in discussing himself, his career, and the amount of Twitter followers he accumulates per show. Again, mentioned how pretty and young looking I am. He didn't care to ask me anything about my life. Those Hollywood elites, dude. Those Hollywood elites. Something has to be done about that. I really want to talk about that. What's going on with these dudes? What's going on with these guys? Some women are not human. Some women are not people. Why are some women fucking animals? Why are some women just like your Rolex? Why are some women just like your fucking Yorkie? Why are you wearing some women around your neck like a sweatshirt? And when other women are real. Other women are human. That's the question. I know, Chris D'Elia, he had female friends. And I'm sure, he's a master manipulator and a narcissist. So, and I hate that Whitney Cummings is being attacked. I really do. She did the right thing. She allegedly, she was the person that got a lawyer for Chris D'Elia. So she was like, she called him up. She's like, here's the number to a lawyer. Bye-bye. She did one last kind thing for him as a friend and then ended the friendship. That's great. Bravo, sister. Great for you. Thank you. As a female comedian, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for coming out in support of me and not in support of your friend. Thank you. I appreciate it. I saw what you did there. Thank you. Thank you for standing with me, and thank you for standing in between me and men like Chris D'Elia. Thank you for doing that, bitch. Thank you for doing that. Sorry, no, you're not a bitch. Sorry. But thank you. He also talked down to us like we were children. I decided I was out after the car ride. We got to the hotel lobby and I started to say something to the effect of, "Thanks so much for the tickets and it's late," and he immediately turns on his incredible narcissistic charm. So basically, the girl before in the letter, and I skipped over this, she said Delia was like very persistent in trying to pursue her. Was like extremely persistent and it was almost uncomfortable. Like he was almost making her uncomfortable. I'm sorry I didn't read that part, but like basically from the beginning, before they even met in person, this woman was like thought Delia was being weird and thought he was being aggressive. But again, the power structure, he had power over her, and that is dazzling. And that's why power is dangerous, and that's why power is dangerous to women. Men with power are dazzling. Men with power, well, you know how it is. Okay, so they go to a bar. The girls are underage, so Delia hides them in the bar, behind a pillar, in this hotel bar. He hides them behind a pillar, and then Michael Inochi goes to the bar to order the drinks for the girls at the bar. When he came back to the table, he brought over several drinks, like 4 or 5. Michael already had ordered and received his drink. At that point, I was unaware that Chris doesn't drink, so I assumed he bought a round for everyone. I didn't realize all these extra drinks were meant for us. They messed up the drink, so they gave me all these for free, he said. Chris loves to talk about how much he doesn't drink. He likes to emphasize that it's not because he was once an alcoholic, but that he has never had a sip in his life. So, you know what? Yeah, Delia, he does talk about that a lot. He does gloat about how he doesn't drink and how he's never had a drink. He does. That sounds like him. But also, she could have got that perspective and that idea from him from just how he is on his podcast, which he is like that on his podcast. He is annoyingly sober. Delia is so sober, he's fucking annoying. You know what I mean? And so she could have... This could have happened to her face, or she could have taken that from something she saw on the podcast and peppered it into the story to make it more convincing. But I still believe this story. I think she is giving adequate details. I think she is saying things in a detailed way that you understand the story enough and understand the flow of things and how it happened in a concrete way that makes sense and is believable. He explains in a very holier-than-thou way. I told him I wasn't a big drinker either. To this, he insisted and encouraged us to drink everything he brought because he didn't want us to feel uncomfortable. By him not drinking as he was so used to everyone drinking around him. Michael was drinking, but again, not from the ones Delia bought. About an hour later, and only after one drink, I could barely see. She could barely see. It was difficult to stand up for and formulate sentences. I knew something was very wrong because it was one drink. My friend had more, about 2. At one point, she fell off her chair onto the ground. She did not seem just drunk. I kept asking her how many drinks she had. She responded, 2. Why are we this drunk? Do they put something in our drinks? She couldn't finish more than 2 drinks, but he kept asking us why we hadn't finished all of the drinks and if we wanted a different variety. So here's the thing. Look, this sounds like Xanax. I've been drugged with Xanax before. I work at a strip club, and it happens. Yeah. Your vision gets blurry. You get really I think this girl was drugged with Xanax, which someone like Delia or Michael Inochi could easily get a prescription for. And if you mix Xanax with alcohol, if you mix Ambien with alcohol, this is what it sounds like. This is what it sounds like happened. He kept asking we haven't finished all the drinks and if we wanted a different variety. Then it was suggested we should go upstairs to a party in his room. I remember hesitating, mostly because we could barely stand. Chris was getting impatient. I really didn't want to be annoyed by fans right now. Side note, not one annoying fan bothered Chris at the hotel bar. Eventually, we make our way to the lobby. Chris was very concerned about being photographed with us. He forced us to walk several feet behind him because he didn't want to be snapped by the pops. She puts that in quotations. Pops. Is that something Chris Delia would say? Chris Delia likes to say some funny words. Chris Delia likes to say funny things in a funny way. Calling the paparazzi the pops, which I never even heard it on E! News. I've never heard the pops on E! News. So if I haven't heard on E! News, it sounds like a unique word and a unique phrasing that Chris Delia himself made up. And he's saying to these girls, and these girls quote it. That's what he said. He said pops. That's a detail. That's a detail that I think should be considered. She's giving details. Yes, you're reading that right. In 2015, Chris D'Elia thought he had paparazzi following him outside LA and San Diego. So she's like pointing out like what an asshole he was. And you know, that's all right. Fair criticism. Michael guided us upstairs. I remember the lobby, but not at all what it took to the elevator or to the room. I remember we were led into Chris D'Elia's sad, dark room. There was no party, and it wouldn't fit more than a few people. It was basically just a bed in a conjoining room to Michael's room. They said we can order more drinks up here if we want, and as we could barely stand, I become involved in conversation with Chris, and it was fine. My friend is talking to Michael in the other room. I eventually realized I was alone with Chris. He's kissing me. I kiss him back. But I also didn't want things to go further. I told him this. I remember realizing that my friend and Michael had really left us alone, and I couldn't hear them next door. The door was also closed. I kept trying to interrupt him kissing me in very real concern for my friend. Do you think they are hooking up? I asked. He says, yeah, probably. This seems very odd because my friend made it clear she wasn't into him. Again, another detail. Suddenly, my friend starts banging on the door. It was locked and she couldn't get in. She's screaming, they locked me in the other room. Open the door. Eventually, Chris D'Elia opens it. She's shaken. They both claim it was an accident to have the door locked. Oh, it was an accident. Sorry to lock the door. Sorry to lock you in a hotel room with Michael Lenoci. It was an accident. My friend accuses them of spiking our drinks and accuses them of purposely separating us. She's pissed. Chris D'Elia stays eerily calm and is eventually able to quell her anxiety. We make it clear that we are leaving, but he suggests we stay. Sober up. It's true we weren't in much condition to get into an Uber and to go home. I didn't even know how to exit the hotel, much less what seemed like the endless hallways it took us to get to his room. That's how out of it we were. My friend starts to feel sick. I don't know where she was to throw up exactly or how when I was left alone the second time. When it was just us again, he turns me and says, we have to fuck tonight. He was no longer sweet, a different person. I know that all too well. From what I've been through in my life, I know exactly what she's talking about. You know when it's going to happen. You see it coming at some point. All of a sudden, you know somebody switched gears and they are no longer trying to get you the nice way. They're going to get you the mean way. You know. I believe this story. I believe this account. This sounds real to me. This seems very, very, very real to me. As a woman and as a survivor of this kind of thing, this story seems real to me. And it is a big bullet in Chris D'Elia's back that I, as a person who has experienced this kind of thing in my life, I will not pull from his back to resuscitate him. I won't. We we make it clear, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he was no longer sweet, a different person. I told him, absolutely not, kind of laughing about it, sounding ridiculous. I thought he was maybe joking at first, but he refused to accept no. Yeah, because, you know, Crystalia's opener sexually assaulted me, and you know what? He refused to see, he didn't hear no either. He really didn't hear no. Birds of a feather. He was no longer sweet, a different 12. I told him, okay, but he refuses to accept no. He kept pressuring and asking me why, to the myriad of questions I gave him, not wanting to have sex. I was having to explain to a man almost twice my age, pestering me for sex while incredibly drunk and probably drugged, why I did not want to. He was unrelenting. Why is it so bad if we have sex? I know you want to. It'll be nice. I made it very clear I was not comfortable, but it was also clear I was in no position to consent to anything. I bartered with him that I can't do anything more than make out. I had only been with 2 long-term boyfriends and didn't know him well enough. I repeated myself many times. He kept saying so, in that same sarcastic tone he uses in his stand-up, so. Does that sound like Crystalia? That sounds like Crystalia to me. That sounds like something Crystalia would say too. The sarcastic tone he uses in his stand-up, so. Crystalia sees women in distress. Crystalia puts women in distress, and he says, so? So? He does. Believe me, he does. And that's why he was shot in the back. He knew I didn't want to have sex. I kept trying to leave, and he would say, wait, okay, we can just cuddle. He offered to get me water. The next vivid memory I have is of Chris on top of me. I didn't know how or at what point this happened. He was shouting at me to look him in the eye. Look at me. Look in my eyes with that pretty fucking face. I couldn't believe what was happening. It felt like I was watching him do this to me from above on the ceiling. It didn't register that what's happening to me was my body. Immediately afterwards, he got on Twitter. He raped a girl and immediately got on Twitter. Were we cowards to shoot him in the back? Were we really cowards? He starts reading about his show and replying to fans' tweets. There was something so callous and so routine in his ability to just resume life as normal after this. It's indescribable how this makes you feel. Like nothing. It makes you feel like fucking nothing. And you know what the problem is when you feel like fucking nothing? Sometimes you don't ever feel like something ever again. When men rape, they make you feel like you're fucking nothing. And sometimes you never feel like much more else than that for the rest of your life. You'll feel like nothing for the rest of your life. Crystalia does this shit to women. Crystalia is a wolf sliding into the DMs of children. Children, and they are children. The age of consent laws, and this is what pisses me off. He didn't do anything technically illegal. You know what the age of consent laws are there for? It is so me. I was 17 and I was dating a 21-year-old. And we were age appropriate. It was fine. He was only a couple years older than me. And thank God for the age of consent laws, so that when I fell in love with a 21-year-old when I was 17, I was able to have this whirlwind romance with a 21-year-old bartender in the time of my life in buttfuck Juneau, Alaska, where nothing fucking happens because I was 17 and he was 21. The age of consent laws allowed that to happen. That's why they're there, and I'm grateful that they're there. But you know what? It is not for 40-year-old men to sleep with 15-year-olds. It is not. It's disgusting. I don't care if it's not illegal. It's disgusting. They're children. And adult men that Crystalia's age should know better, and they don't because they're predators. And 16, 17-year-old girls are what better prey? What better prey than 16, 17-year-old girls? He's into the daddy-daughter shit. And he's into the brother-sister shit too. Those are not games for young girls to play with grown men. It's not a game. So basically she goes on to say her and her friend talked about it the next day. She told her friend that week, the same week, that what Crystalia did to her. So there's two girls and there's one girl making this accusation and mentioning a corroborating witness. So if this girl were to come forward and this girl were to come forward, then something could actually happen because she has a corroborating witness, but she works in the industry, and you have to understand that. You know what I did to myself by accusing David Murphy? You know what I did? I fucked myself. Michael Inochi and Mark Hayes and Crystalia all knew who I was and all knew I was starting shit with their friend, and were they going to help me? Were they going to let me succeed? Were they going to try and stop me? Were they going to try? What were they going to do? What were they going to do to me? What were those men going to do to me because I got sexually assaulted? What were they going to do? "35-year-old men pursuing 16, 17-year-old girls is inherently abusive. Inherently. Every message he sent to those young girls, knowing fully well that they were that age that they were. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of women being prey. I'm tired of women being an object. I'm tired of this capture the flag with drugging women, with holding women down, with, it's not a fucking game. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I grew up all my life being abused by men, and it was always boys will be boys, Caroline. Why are you upset? What's your fucking problem? I grew up that way. I was raised that way, and I'm sick of it, and I'm done. So I, myself, would shoot Crystalia in the back if I had an accusation that I could tell. Unfortunately, I don't have an accusation I can speak to about Crystalia. But I wish I had one at this point so I could put a bullet in his back. I would have loved to put a bullet in his back. The same of these girls. Because finally, at least something happened. With my abusers, nothing happened. Nothing happened to them. Nothing. In the Crystalia situation, finally, something happened. Something finally happened. And we had to shoot a man in the back for it to fucking happen. But it happened, and he's finally gone, and he'll never hurt women again. He'll never go after young girls again. Anyways, that's my vlog for today. Please check out this Instagram page, Delia Me Too on Instagram, and read everything. Be discerning. You be questioning. But if even one of these accusations is true, and I'm sure many of them, if not most of them are, and Delia got what he had coming, and he got shot in the back. And he didn't deserve better. When it comes to rape, there is no due process that will receive women justice. Only 2 of every 100 rapists will serve time in jail. That's my vlog for today. Like and subscribe and share. But you know, dealing with PTSD, I just I'm tired. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to have PTSD anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I want men like Delia to go away. They're not going away. People still defend him. People still want to be his fan. People still want to be his friend and support him and support his career. Despite women. Fuck women. You know, if you're a man, don't you put women and children on the lifeboat first, but in this situation, you would put a man who's been accused 75 times of doing fucked up shit to women on that lifeboat first before the women he did that shit to get on. Women and children first. Delia needs to go down with his shit. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.